Good morning. Coming up on 6:30 now, and here's what's ahead in our half hour on Daybreak.
Should restaurant workers be required to get a hepatitis A shot? Why a recent outbreak in the area has local owners asking that question.
Plus, a third accuser speaking out against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. What she says she saw him doing at high school parties. Kate?
Yes, good morning. After all that, I'm here to talk about pizza. Buffalo's got some brand new bragging rights, and we are talking about it coming up.
From the station on your side, Channel 2 News Daybreak starts now.
Good morning, everyone. First, we want to talk about the weather, though, because that rain behind Patrick right there definitely going to affect your morning commute. What's going on, Patrick?
Yeah, I got a feeling it's going to be one of those slow commutes, and here's why. I mean, undoubtedly, we're all getting wet. Some of the rain moderate, some of it heavy, like we hear overhead right now. The good news is that the lightning intensity has waned.
Well, today we could hear back from the state officials if targeted immunization for hepatitis A has ever been considered, following a recent outbreak that has been traced to a Cheektowaga restaurant. A former part-time food handler at Duino's Pizzeria Bar and Grill on Harlem Road was found infected with hepatitis A and the source for 3 other people contracting the illness at that restaurant. The health department says anyone who ate there between August 20th and September 3rd should look out for mostly intestinal symptoms. But Health Commissioner Dr. Gail Burstein says there is a growing number of Hep A cases in the county, and she feels people should make sure they get proper Hep A immunization.
Many of us travel outside the United States, and we know that we have problem in our community with people using drug, both injection and non-injection.
And we have more details about the latest round of hepatitis A cases and more information on the ailment on our website, WGRZ.com.
6:34 on Daybreak, and a third woman accusing Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct is speaking out this morning. Julie Swetnick spoke to NBC News in an interview about those allegations, all of which Kavanaugh denies. Now, it comes as the White House made a shift from telling the FBI to only question 4 witnesses to now authorizing them to question anyone they think is necessary. Swetnick told NBC News about Kavanaugh's alleged behavior during high school parties.
He was very aggressive, very sloppy drunk, very mean drunk. I saw him go up to girls and paw on them, try to, get a little too handsy, touching them in private parts.
Again, Kavanaugh has denied all of these allegations. Senate Republicans say that they are planning to vote on Kavanaugh by Friday.
Here in New York State, 2 on your side, along with the Buffalo News and WNED, are pushing for a debate in the race for the 27th Congressional District. Over the weekend, an editorial said Congressman Chris Collins and all candidates must commit to debates. Democratic challenger Nate McMurray has accepted the invitation, but we have yet to hear back from the Collins campaign.
Happening today in honor of October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, Family and Children's Services of Niagara will host its 5th annual Domestic Violence Ribbon Walk. The walk starts at 3rd and Main Streets in the Falls, and participants will tie purple ribbons to trees to bring awareness. The walk begins at 4:30. 2 Western New York men are facing felony charges for allegedly stealing $26,000 worth of steel parts that were meant for a project at LaGuardia Airport. The Erie County Sheriff's Office says 57-year-old Louis Volo Jr. and David Miller took 13 bridge bearings from R.J. Watson Incorporated and tried to sell them at a local scrapyard. Both men are facing felony, grand larceny, and trespassing charges. 6:36 now, and could the Buffalo Bills be getting a new stadium anytime soon? Well, if you ask Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz, the answer is no. Poloncarz says a lot of the public comments on the recent convention center study suggest combining a new convention center and a stadium. He says that wouldn't save any money, and a new stadium is not something that's on his radar right now.
Not like you can just all of a sudden snap your fingers and build a new stadium, nor do I think the Pagulas feel like they really want to throw in $1 billion. We'll have conversations. We'll always have conversations, but I still get people come up to me on the street and so forth and say, hey, you going to build a new stadium next year? My answer is no. I don't have the money for it, and it's not in the cards right now.
In addition to that, the Bills' lease at New Era Field runs through 2022.
All right, well, it is 6:37 now on Daybreak, and the rain is still pounding on our roof and a lot of roofs around Western New York. Patrick?
Too wet to dance. I'm sorry. There will be no roof dance today.
It's not an excuse. Come on.
We'll find a way to sneak it in. All right, wet morning commute, no doubt about it. Downpours and thunder currently rolling through.
Yeah, I had a few bumps on the road, but had great nurses and great docs. I can't thank them enough.
You might remember 17-year-old Tim Richardson of Cheektowaga. We've shared a lot of stories about him. He dreams of becoming a firefighter one day, and fire companies from around the world flooded him with T-shirts to wear during his battle with leukemia. Well, now he has a new hero to thank in his fight. He is bone marrow donor. We'll tell you about that transplant, and tomorrow on Daybreak we'll also share with you a message he received from a Buffalo legend who knows a thing or two about battling cancer. That's tomorrow morning on Daybreak.
Can't wait to hear that update.
Well, the title of hero is really used all too often, but this morning we've got a story for you of a Buffalo native who is deserving in every way of that title.
Absolutely. He became a national star on the football field, but he gave everything on the battlefield. This morning, the unknown story of Don Hollader, a Buffalo-born hero. He was the All-American boy. Born in Buffalo in 1934, Don Hollader grew up in the Old First Ward. At the age of 14, he became the youngest Eagle Scout in Western New York history. Before his family moved to Rochester, and his star really began to shine. He was a three-sport star there at Aquinas Institute and ultimately went on to an amazing collegiate career at West Point. Much of that with him catching passes from a fellow Western New Yorker, quarterback Pete Van of Hamburg.
Pete Van passing to Don Hollader, who romps into the end zone for the 6 points.
Don was an All-American. He led his team to a huge upset victory before 102,000 fans in the Army-Navy game. He even made the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yes, he was a hero. Yes, he was a great athlete, but he was a great person.
A sentiment shared by just about everyone who knew him. I spoke on the phone with retired Air Force General Perry Smith, Don's roommate at West Point.
Of all the people I've ever known in my life, with the exception of my wife and my immediate family, he was the most special guy I've ever known.
Being on cover of Sports Illustrated, leading his team onto the field at the Army-Navy game, and just a wonderful, wonderful person and a nice person to be around.
Don was the first inductee into the Aquinas Hall of Fame. He's in the Collegiate Football Hall of Fame, but it's what he did after his days on the gridiron that put him in the category of hero.
He could have played professional football, but he really wanted to be a soldier. He wanted to serve his country, and that's what he did.
Don rose to the rank of major, and on October 17, 1967, Major Hollader, realizing his ground troops were in trouble, organized a rescue team and hit the ground with them. Hollader ran ahead of the team and into the jungle. He was killed attempting to rescue wounded soldiers.
It didn't surprise me anything about it because that was Holly. He was going to go try to help the soldiers. He'd saved a life just a few months before in Vietnam, and he was going to go save some more lives.
His sacrifice so moving that his funeral at Arlington National Cemetery was attended by the likes of Vince Lombardi and Robert Kennedy.
I think Don's legacy is important here at Aquinas for a number of reasons, but I also think it's very important for this area in Western New York, but also our country.
A stadium in Rochester was renamed Don Hollader Stadium. It was torn down, but the technology park that sits on the land still carries the name. But Jim Lanson, a teacher in the Brighton School District near Rochester, is pushing for more recognition in Don's hometown.
I think a fitting tribute would be to get Don into the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame and also the Buffalo Naval and Military Museum on the wall there, so today's youth and future generations can learn all about a Buffalo native.
And a very heroic chapter of the unknown stories of Western New York. And, you know, I lived a short distance from where Hollader Stadium stood when I lived in Rochester. I knew the name the whole time I worked in Rochester, but never knew that he was originally from Buffalo. So people like Jim Lanson are currently working to change that and make sure he's as well-known a name in Buffalo, where he was born and grew up, as he is in Rochester.
Yeah, those certainly would be fitting tributes to get him into the Hall of Fame and at the Naval Park.
Yep.
I can't believe he's not. 6:47 on Daybreak, and it's time now for the top stories we're following today. A man convicted of intentionally setting an apartment building on fire will be sentenced this morning.
A jury found 21-year-old Corey Green guilty of starting that fire that trapped a family of 5 inside their home in April of last year. 3 children were asleep inside the building at the time of the fire, and a 3-year-old boy will have permanent scars from the burns he suffered. 2 other kids were hurt, as well as their mom and dad. Green faces up to 15 years in prison when he is sentenced this morning at 9:30.
3 men in their 20s are all recovering after a triple shooting in Buffalo yesterday. It happened near the corner of Bailey and Berkshire Avenues. 2 are in critical condition and the other is in serious condition at ECMC. Police believe it was a targeted shooting, but if you have any information, you're asked to call Buffalo Police.
Nearly 3 dozen employees at HSBC will soon be without a job. The bank announced about 35 positions will be cut in Western New York, but a bank spokesperson says they will also be creating the same number of positions here. So workers who lost their jobs will have priority applying for the new jobs, as well as help preparing for interviews if they leave the company.
In Orchard Park, the Buffalo Bills and units will host a One Buffalo Community Blood Drive today at New Era Field. From noon until 7, every donor will receive a pair of One Buffalo socks. Bills and Sabres alumni will also be there for the day. If you can't make it to the stadium, though, you can still get the socks by donating blood at any unit's donation center. Well, believe it or not, hockey season is about to begin, Pete.
It's like the day before Christmas for me. That's right. 2 short days. The Sabres host the Boston Bruins for the home opener. And today the team will unveil the new menu items for the season. Delaware North, Sports Service, and the Sabres will present a sampling of those items at Lexus Club at KeyBank Center at 1 o'clock.
And tonight, one of the Sabres' up-and-coming stars will be making an appearance to sign some autographs. Casey Middlestat will be at David Adams on Sheridan Drive in Williamsville for his first public signing. The young forward will be there tonight at 6 o'clock. Tickets are required if you want to get something autographed, and you can get those tickets at David Adams today.
And this morning, umbrellas are required and windshield wipers to boot. Right, Patrick?
Since you're talking hockey, you want a boot?
Right, very good, Dave. Thank you.
Well, finally this morning, why not pizza for breakfast? Buffalo's got some bragging rights this morning. The national food site, The Daily Meal, included 3 Buffalo pizzerias on its list of 101 best pizza places in the U.S. for 2018. Lenova got a piece of the action at number 100. Jay's Artisan Pizza made the list at 93, and Bocce Club Pizza landed at number 84 on the list. What do you think? What are your favorites?
Can't argue with any of those. My favorite, growing up on the West Side, Lenova. I have to turn in my West Side card if I vote for anyone but Mr. Pizza is pretty good, too.
My new favorite will be anyone that will deliver at 7 a.m. A real pizza, not breakfast pizza.
Right.
We will take it.
Don't throw any egg on hers, or it'll be...
No.
My favorite line from John Beard ever, breakfast pizza, not as good as breakfast, not as good as pizza. So,
that's a great explanation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because breakfast pizza is usually served like during a morning meeting, so the meeting has to happen before you get the pizza. By the time you get the pizza, it's cold. The eggs are kind of like styrofoam.
And you know what's ironic about that? The best breakfast is cold pizza, but not cold
Regular
breakfast pizza.
No.
I go for Nino's, Southtowns.
Oh, and I like Muscarella's on Main Street in Williamsville.
To be determined. I'm still waiting to find my favorite.
Any pizza with the cup pepperoni,
Oh,
not the
yeah.
flat pepperoni, right?
You need that. It's not pizza without it, right?
Have a slice today, everyone. Have a great day.
Then I made my way to the kitchen.